Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Today I'm going to be having something that is a pretty special bottle. A lot of people never get their hands on Parker's Heritage, which is a product from Heaven Hill. It's a yearly release that they do, very special limited release bottle. And last year's 2023, which came out, I think it launched officially in September, but I think it's still technically, you could probably still find a bottle somewhere. I doubt you're going to get it at MSRP, but you do things like bottle trades or secondary pricing. You might get lucky, find a good deal on one. I have seen a lot of them marked up quite a bit, but it's a $185 bottle of whiskey, which is kind of a lot of money, right? It's kind of a lot of money. But when you think about what the product is, which I'll break it down for you, you might understand why that price point is what it is. Now, unfortunately, on the secondary, I've seen this listed for $300. I've seen it listed for $500. It's because it's a very limited release bottle. You're looking at 142 barrels total, which I guess isn't like super small, but a big shout out to Matt Warren, who grabbed a bottle of this and sent me a sample on over. He knows how much I really like ryes with a lot of age and a lot of oak influence, so I think he's trying to treat me with this one. So I'll pour it and I'll break down the bottle for you and let you know what I think of it, okay? So, Parker's Heritage. This is the 2023. I think this is the 17th bottle in the series. Why is it as expensive as it is? Why is it $185? Because the Parker's Heritage bottles, if you know anything about this series, they're not always the same price every year. It really just depends on what the juice is that year. And I think this is the second time only that it's ever been a rye for Parker's Heritage. All the others have been, bourbons. And if you're familiar with Heaven Hill, you know the Pikesville rye whiskey. It's a very similar mash bill to that. It's only just a couple of percentages off. So both of them have 51% rye in the mash bill. So it's the bare minimum. So Parker's Heritage, this rye, it has only 51% rye in the mash. The rest is corn and barley. So this is 35% corn and then 14% malted barley. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say the Pikesville bottle, that rye whiskey from Heaven Hill, is also 51% rye, but then I think it's 39% corn and then 11%, right? My math right? No, that would be 10% malted barley. So anyways, very similar, not quite the same, very similar though. But because of that, I'm assuming that this rye is going to be like Pikesville in that it's distilled by the same people, very similar mash bill, and lots of corn in the mash. So it's probably going to be a sweeter rye, a little bit softer rye, less spicy. And this is 10 years old as well. So it's a unique mash bill. It's 10 years old, heavy char on the oak, and it's at barrel proof. So this comes in at 128.8 proof. So it's pretty hot. So because of that, that's why you see a $185 price tag, because it's got age, a unique mash bill, so they're not just running the same stuff through the stills. They just set it up to run this specifically. And then also on top of that, obviously, you've got it's not being proofed down. So they can't take that same amount of whiskey, add water to it, and get, hundreds, thousands more bottles out with the same juice. They don't proof it down, so that gives you less liquid to work with, less liquid to sell, so the price goes up. So that's why it's $185 MSRP. The question really is, how much are you willing to pay for it? Because chances are pretty good you're not going to find it for $185. Just not the way these things work. These limited release bottles these days, it's such a competitive market right now that your chance of getting your hands on these things at MSRP is pretty slim. But let's get in here and we'll see how this juice actually is, and we'll see if it's actually something that would be worthwhile for you to go chasing. So I feel like a lot of us have that, maybe one or two unicorn bottles that we're like, this is the one thing that I really want on my shelf and I am willing to pay a little bit of a markup for it. Some of us are willing to pay a lot of markup for it. If it comes from your favorite distillery and it's your favorite kind of whiskey from your favorite distillery and it's limited and you're like, I just want to have one just so I can have one. You know what I mean? We've all got that bottle. So we'll see if this is worthy of being maybe one of those bottles for you. Let's get in on it. I have been spoiled with some very good rye whiskeys in the last couple of months. We'll see how this holds up. Oh man. Okay, that nose is really nice. There's a lot of brown sugar in there. I do applewood smoked old fashions sometimes, and this smells like, I get some of that applewood note on this as well on the nose, which is beautiful. And plenty of cinnamon on this too. So between like the applewood, the cinnamon, and the brown sugar, man, this is giving me like some serious apple dumpling vibes. Or apple pie. Yeah, sweet and fruity, and a little bit of that, like I said, the smoked Apple with a little bit of that smoky action going on the nose. That's beautiful. Yeah, nose alone on that is really attractive. And I gotta say, it's also a beautiful color. Look at that deep, dark, rich color on that. Love that. All right, let's try it. Cheers. Holy cow. That's wild. It really tastes to me like, you know, when you get like a box of chocolates, maybe for your wife for Valentine's Day or something like that, and you got all these assorted chocolates. There's usually one in there that's round because it's a dark chocolate covered cherry. That's what this tastes like to me. Bitter dark chocolates and a nice sweet rich cherry in there as well. But then just waves and waves of oak as well on the palate. Man, that dark cherry note is so strong in there with the bitter chocolates. I feel like that really is the best descriptor for the way that this tastes. It is plenty hot, and it tastes like, I don't know, it doesn't have like really spicy rye qualities about it. It's got more like peppery oak, spicy oak, but not spicy rye per se. Yeah, dry spicy oak, bitter chocolates, and sweet dark red cherries. Beautiful. That cherry and oak finish lasts a long time too. This is definitely a sipper. Not something you would crush. I mean, you can make this, I can make this pour right here last an hour easily. Good grief, man. This is so good. This tastes to me like if the Jack Daniel's twice barreled special release rye had a baby with Stag 22B. that's kind of what this tastes like to me. It reminds me of those two things. Like if they were to merge their profiles together seamlessly, that's what this would be. Okay, I totally get why someone would go hunting for this bottle. It doesn't at all surprise me that people who like ryes would go out of their way to pay a markup on this bottle specifically. I think this is delicious. This is fantastic. Bear in mind, I love rye. I love really well-seasoned oak with rye that has some good age on it. I love those brown sugar notes that you get from the vanillins and the mature oak mixing with a nice spicy rye. I just love the way that those flavors combine over time, and this certainly delivers. But it's that bitter chocolate covered cherry that's really selling me on this sip. That really stands out. Man, this really does make me wish that Heaven Hill would do more rye, because they just don't offer a lot. I mean, you got some Elijah Craig, and you've got the Pikesville. Pikesville is a really good rye, but man, it's like you guys could really crush a really good, older, mature rye. Like, do more of this, because this is really freaking good. Do more of this, maybe on a smaller scale, more readily available, and it'd be on my shelf all the time. It doesn't have to be 10 years old and this high proof. But man, I feel like they got to bring a different rye product to the table that is at least comparable to this in some capacity, because I think it would sell. So I should give this a score for my scale, and then I should tell you what I would be willing to pay for it. And I think in the history of my channel, which has been around for, well, maybe 2 years now, close to 2 years I've been doing this. I think I've only given out one score that is a 9 or above, haven't I? I think so. I think I'm going to give this a flat 9.0. There's nothing on my channel. The now probably hundreds of whiskeys that I've tried on this channel, and I've tried some really good stuff. I think there's maybe one other bottle I've given a 9 to. I'm going to give this a 9. This just hits me right. I love ryes. I love good mature ryes. You know this about me, especially ryes that have tons of contact with oak, you know, and those heavy char notes. That's just really right up my alley, and this is just superb in that category of whiskey. This is superb. So for me and my palate, I got to give this a flat 9.0. Why? Because it executes very, very well on the notes that I wanted out of this bottle, but it also takes me into this chocolate-covered cherry note that I didn't expect to get on a rye. And so because of that, it's innovative and it's excellent. It's superb. So 9.0 is where I fall. What would I be willing to pay for this bottle? If I went to the store and I saw it for $250, I'd buy it. Yeah. I would buy it for $250. Would I buy it for $300? Man, if it was a good month and I could blow $300 in a single bottle, maybe. But I think $250 might be my like standard cap for just a regular month, you know what I mean? But $300 would basically be my whole monthly Patreon budget on one bottle. So you'd get less content that month, that's for sure. So I think $250 is where I would say I'd be willing to pay $250 for this bottle. Thanks again, Matt, for sharing that with me. That's a special sip, and I'm very grateful that you shared it with me. Because I can imagine it'd be hard to part with 2 ounces of that juice. So I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, man. 9.0. Sheesh, dude. If I had this before the end of the year, it easily would have made my top 10 whiskeys of 2023 list. It probably would have been on top of it. Cheers, my friends. Thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching the video today. And feel free to join our Discord, introduce yourself. We'd love to get to meet you. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters for funding the bottles I get to pick up and review here on the channel every month. I could not do this without you guys. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. And I hope to catch you in the next one. And I'm looking forward to catching some of our Patreon supporters in the Discord here really soon, as this next week we'll be wrapping up our current bottle share. We get to finish off the remaining samples that we've got and enjoy those together. I really appreciate your company, and those nights are always a blast. If that's something you think, hey man, I'd like to do that, get involved in our Patreon group. The base tier is literally $1. That's it, $1. And you can get access to stuff like that. We'd love to meet you. Again, cheers. Bye-bye.